252 million years ago, life on Earth almost came to an end. This was not the extinction that wiped out the dinosaurs. It was far worse. Scientists call it the Permian mass extinction, the single deadliest event in the history of complex life. Around 90% of marine species disappeared. Entire ecosystems collapsed so completely that some ancient environments never truly recovered. The world itself was changing into something hostile. In what is now Siberia, volcanic eruptions continued for hundreds of thousands of years. Rivers of lava spread across a region larger than many modern countries combined, but the lava was only part of the disaster. The eruptions released enormous amounts of carbon dioxide and toxic gases into the atmosphere. Global temperatures rose rapidly. Oceans became warmer, more acidic, and increasingly depleted of oxygen. In many places, the seas could no longer support large animal life. On land, forests vanished. Food chains broke apart. The planet that had once been filled with life became quieter, emptier, unstable. For millions of years, Earth remained a dangerous world, recovering from catastrophe. And yet some organisms endured. A few small survivors adapted to conditions that would have destroyed most life that came before them. From this devastated world, evolution began again, because extinction did not end life, it transformed it. The world that followed the Permian extinction was not stable or welcoming. It was a harsh, shifting Earth where survival depended on efficiency rather than strength. Almost all land was joined into a single supercontinent known as Pangaea. Without large oceans to regulate climate, the interior became extremely dry and unstable. Vast desert systems stretched across continents, with seasonal temperatures swinging between intense heat and cooler, harsher periods. In many regions, rainfall was rare and unpredictable, and ecosystems could collapse quickly when conditions changed. The atmosphere was also different from today. Oxygen levels were generally lower, at times estimated around 10 to 15% in some regions, compared to 21% in the modern atmosphere. This meant animals had to work harder to extract oxygen, especially during sustained activity. For many species, endurance was a constant biological challenge. It was in this demanding world that the first dinosaurs emerged. Early dinosaurs were small, lightly built animals, often no larger than a modern dog. But their bodies possessed important advantages. Their legs were positioned directly beneath the body, allowing upright, efficient movement rather than the sprawling gait of many earlier reptiles. This reduced energy loss and improved endurance over long distances. They likely also had more efficient respiratory systems, allowing better oxygen intake during activity. In a world defined by heat, drought, and instability, these traits mattered more than size or brute force. Over time, this combination of efficiency and adaptability allowed dinosaurs to expand across the Triassic Earth. As the Triassic world faded, Earth entered a new chapter that would redefine the scale of life itself. The supercontinent Pangaea began to break apart. This slow fragmentation changed everything. New oceans opened between the separating landmasses and global climate systems shifted in response. Moist air from these emerging seas moved deeper into the continents, bringing a level of humidity that the Triassic world had rarely experienced. Over time, deserts retreated. In their place, vast forests expanded across nearly every latitude. Conifers grew into towering structures and dense fern undergrowth formed continuous green carpets across floodplains and river valleys. The planet was no longer a fragmented, arid system. It was becoming a connected, moisture-rich biosphere. Oxygen levels also stabilized and gradually increased compared to earlier periods, supporting higher metabolic activity in large animals. This shift may seem small in percentage terms, but in evolutionary time, it had major consequences for body size and ecological complexity. And within this transformed world, dinosaurs changed dramatically. Sauropods began to dominate many ecosystems. These long-necked herbivores evolved body plans optimized for energy efficiency on a massive scale. Long digestive systems, lightweight air-filled bones, and slow but powerful locomotion that allowed them to migrate across vast distances. The Jurassic landscape was defined by scale. Forests were not just large, they were towering and continuous. Movement through these environments felt endless as herds of giant dinosaurs passed between giant conifers and across wide river-shaped plains. Their footsteps left impressions that still remain fossilized today, showing coordinated migration routes across ancient terrain. In this period, Earth did not just support life, it expanded it into something immense. In the Jurassic world, evolution was no longer experimenting cautiously. It was refining animals into highly efficient biological systems. Among the most successful were the sauropods. Their long necks allowed them to feed across enormous areas without constantly moving their massive bodies, conserving energy in environments where entire forests could be stripped of vegetation. Fossil evidence shows that some sauropods replaced their teeth remarkably quickly. In species such as Nigersaurus, a worn tooth could be replaced in as little as 14 days, allowing continuous feeding on abrasive plant material. Their skeletons reveal another extraordinary adaptation. Many sauropod vertebrae contained extensive air-filled cavities connected to the respiratory system, reducing skeletal weight by as much as 50 to 60% in certain bones. Paleontologists believe these air sacs function similarly to those of modern birds, creating a highly efficient one-way breathing system capable of extracting more oxygen during activity. As herds moved across river valleys and fern plains, they altered the landscape itself. Fossil trackways discovered in places such as Portugal and the western United States stretch for hundreds of feet, suggesting repeated migration routes used over long periods of time. Predators evolved just as rapidly. Large theropods developed forward-facing vision, stronger balance systems, and more efficient limb mechanics for pursuit. Some trackway sites preserve multiple parallel footprints moving in the same direction, hinting that certain predators may occasionally have hunted or traveled together. These animals were not primitive reptiles wandering blindly through ancient forests. They were highly adapted specialists shaped by relentless evolutionary pressure over millions of years. While giant dinosaurs dominated the continents, another evolutionary arms race was unfolding beneath the surface of the oceans. The seas of the Mesozoic were not empty expanses of water. They were complex, predator-filled ecosystems inhabited by marine reptiles unlike anything alive today. Among the earliest were the ichthyosaurs. Their ancestors had once walked on land, yet over millions of years, evolution reshaped them into animals that closely resembled modern dolphins. This is one of the clearest examples of convergent evolution. Unrelated lineages independently evolving similar solutions to survive in the same environment. Some ichthyosaurs developed enormous eyes more than 20 centimeters across, among the largest ever known invertebrates. These adaptations may have allowed them to hunt in deep or dimly lit waters where sunlight barely penetrated. Later came the plesiosaurs with long, flexible necks designed for rapid sideways strikes through schools of fish and squid. And by the late Cretaceous, the oceans were ruled by mosasaurs, powerful marine predators related not to dinosaurs, but to monitor lizards and snakes. Fossilized stomach contents reveal that mosasaurs preyed on fish, seabirds, ammonites, and even other marine reptiles. Some species grew large enough to occupy the top of the marine food chain almost entirely unchallenged. The deeper these ecosystems evolved, the stranger they became. Far below the surface, massive shapes moved through darkness, guided by pressure, movement, and instinct, refined over millions of years. By the height of the Mesozoic, the oceans had become just as dangerous as the land above them. By the middle of the Mesozoic, reptiles had expanded far beyond the land and oceans. The skies themselves had become part of their domain. The pterosaurs were the first vertebrates in Earth's history to achieve powered flight, appearing more than 150 million years before modern birds became widespread. Their wings were formed not from feathers, but from thin membranes of skin and muscle stretched across an enormously elongated fourth finger. Over time, these flying reptiles evolved into a remarkable variety of forms. Some hunted fish above coastal waters. Others searched inland forests for insects and small animals. Entire aerial ecosystems developed above the dinosaur world below. And among the largest was Quetzalcoatlus. With a wingspan estimated at around 33 to 36 feet, it rivaled small aircraft in size. Standing on the ground, it was as tall as a giraffe, yet its hollow bones kept the body surprisingly light for flight. Scientists believe it could travel enormous distances by soaring on warm air currents with minimal energy expenditure. By this point, reptilian life had occupied nearly every major environment on Earth. Dinosaurs ruled the land, marine reptiles dominated the seas, and overhead giant pterosaurs crossed ancient skies that no human would ever witness. For more than a century, dinosaurs were imagined as slow, primitive reptiles. But over the last few decades, paleontology has completely transformed that picture. Some of the most important discoveries came from exceptionally preserved fossils in China, where scientists uncovered dinosaurs covered in feathers. At first, these structures were controversial. Today, the evidence is overwhelming. Feathers were not unique to birds. Many theropod dinosaurs possessed them long before modern birds appeared. And feathers were only the beginning. Bone structure growth rates and oxygen isotope studies increasingly suggest that many dinosaurs maintained elevated metabolisms closer to warm-blooded animals than traditional reptiles. Some species grew incredibly quickly, reaching adult size in years rather than decades, a pace difficult to explain with a slow reptilian metabolism. In places such as Mongolia and Argentina, paleontologists discovered adults preserved sitting directly over nests, suggesting active incubation behavior similar to modern birds. Other fossil sites preserve entire groups of juveniles moving together, hinting at parental care and complex social behavior after hatching. Even dinosaur intelligence is being reconsidered. Certain theropods possessed enlarged brain regions associated with balance, vision, and coordination. Some researchers believe their cognitive abilities may have approached those of modern flightless birds. The more fossils we uncover, the more familiar dinosaurs begin to feel. Not primitive monsters, but dynamic animals whose lineage still survives in every bird alive today. Perhaps the most surprising discoveries of all came from the ancient polar regions. 70 million years ago, parts of what is now Alaska were covered not by ice sheets, but by cold forests of conifers and ferns. Winters brought months of darkness, freezing temperatures, and seasonal snowfall. No traditional image of a cold-blooded reptile should have survived there. And yet dinosaurs did. Predators such as Nanosaurus lived and hunted inside this environment. These northern dinosaurs were highly adapted to the cold, likely possessing feather insulation and elevated metabolisms that allowed sustained activity during long Arctic winters. Imagine those forests in darkness, snow covering the ground, clouds of vapor rising with every breath. Distant footsteps moving between the trees beyond visibility. This was not a tropical reptile world. It was an ecosystem of adaptable, active animals capable of surviving conditions once thought impossible for dinosaurs. Dinosaurs were far more resilient than we ever imagined. While dinosaurs dominated the forest coastlines and polar regions of the Mesozoic world, another group of animals survived quietly beneath them. The first true mammals were small, secretive creatures, most weighing less than 2.2 pounds. For over 100 million years, they occupied ecological niches too small or specialized for most dinosaurs to exploit. Many were nocturnal. Fossil skulls and CT scans show enlarged olfactory bulbs and hearing structures linked to advanced night activity. Some species could likely detect high-frequency sounds beyond the range of many reptiles. Their fur provided insulation, while warm-blooded metabolisms allowed sustained activity during cooler nighttime temperatures, when energy-efficient survival became critical. In northeastern China, paleontologists uncovered a specimen of Reptinomammus containing the remains of a juvenile dinosaur inside its stomach cavity. The animal itself measured roughly 3.3 feet in length, unusually large for an early mammal, demonstrating that some mammals were active predators rather than passive scavengers. But during the Age of Dinosaurs, mammals still appeared insignificant. They moved through burrows, dense undergrowth, and darkness, while giant reptiles controlled the visible world above them. Nothing about these small animals suggested future dominance. Yet hidden within them were traits that would later prove decisive: fast metabolism, flexible behavior, and unusually large brains for their time. After 160 million years, dinosaurs ruled a world more advanced and resilient than we once believed. They survived volcanic catastrophes, continental collapse, climate shifts, and evolutionary wars beyond human imagination. And yet, on one ordinary morning, their world ended. Not because they were primitive, not because evolution failed them, but because even the greatest empires in Earth's history remain vulnerable to forces beyond their control. Somewhere beneath modern forests, beneath cities, roads, and oceans, lie the remains of a lost world that once believed it would last forever. And in many ways, that world is still alive. Every bird crossing the sky is proof of it.